DJKillzown Jones, you better remember the name. DJ.
Problem solver and grammar cop. But thank you guys so much for coming out. So yeah, I'm gonna have the fellas to my left and right introduce themselves.
Alright, yo, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Hip hop gamer from Brooklyn, New York. Originally East New York, you already know what it is. Sorry, like I've been working, you know what I'm saying? Brooklyn, you already know, son. So, yeah, me, just to let you know how I got started, like, I love games. I've been playing games since I was 4 years old. My grandma got me involved in games. She was the best Tomb Raider player. She ended every Tomb Raider, even Angel of Darkness on PS2 that was garbage. But she ended all of them without the need of a strategy guide. So she made sure I played games when I was a kid growing up. And when I was 14, I just loved the expression of hip hop and music. So I just started writing music as well. So I just took hip hop and gaming, brought it together. I became a conduit and the voice of it. And everybody loved it because it's something that we always did. Now there's a medium for it. And my goal is to be the first black journalist on national television talking about games and what we do. So let's get it poppin'.
I'm MC FrontaLot. I invented getting hungover on Sundays at PAX. A tradition which I'm firmly immersed in this year, as usual.
So you can't talk hip hop and video games without talking about the beginning. As a former teacher, I like to go through the history a little bit. So we talk about the founding fathers, and if you've seen this panel before, hopefully you would know who that man is. That is Kool Herc. You guys familiar with Kool Herc? Okay. Yes. Kool Herc, brief story on him. He came to the U.S. from Jamaica, came to the Bronx, and was the first ever to hold what are now would be considered hip-hop house parties. First DJ to play breaks and things like that, and to get the party going. And so he is widely credited as the founding father of hip-hop. So DJ Kool Herc. And you can't talk video games without this guy. You might know that is.
Cool image transitions.
I learned a thing or two in 12th grade computer lab. Anybody know who this man is? Nolan Bushnell, founder of Atari, father of video games to a lot of people. Brief tidbit about his story, and I always tell this because it's awesome. He was the biggest Walt Disney fan. His lot in life was he wanted to work for Walt Disney. He would apply every year, and he would get turned down every single year. So he came up with the brilliant idea to compete against Walt Disney, and he came up with the idea of Chuck E. Cheese. So he's like, I know what I can do, a rat and pizza, and who needs a Mickey Mouse, we can do this. And so he went head up, and I believe Chuck E. Cheese went bankrupt, but then I think they came back or something like that. Atari also, took its dips, and but I believe Nolan Bushnell is back in the game, so the passion never dies. So, I like that. Okay, I want to talk about hip-hop and gaming and some of their similarities. First, I'll start with hip-hop. Hip-hop started in the late 1970s. It is still very young, so it has a lot more, hopefully, a lot more potential, a lot more great things will occur. Because a lot of times when we think about how frustrating the hip-hop scene is, a lot of times, we have to remember that it's really young. Like it's the youngest form of music pretty much that there is that's respected on the grand scale. So, dismissed as a fad in the 1980s, it was something that was kind of considered rebel music. It was, kids, it was punk rock for kids who couldn't, play guitar and things like that. Gained some commercial popularity, lobbied against by Congress and conservatives, and is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. MC FrontaLot, would you like to speculate on how many of these are similar to the video game genre?
I'm going to guess that entire column would be replicated under the heading video games.
Really? Well, let's find out. Probably a little sooner than the 1970s, but yeah, 70s. This is a fad. Pac-Man Fever, that was my joke. Quickly gained commercial popularity, lobbied against by a few conservatives, and is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. Correct. So, sorry, I'm going a little fast. I saw you about to take in the back. You need that photo?
Wait a second, wait.
Instagram that right there.
Quick, hip-hop gamer, looking at this list, do you feel, in general, with hip-hop and video games, obviously, we see the link in them and in the cultures.
Yeah.
You personally, you talked a little bit about it, about the link that you feel is within hip-hop and video games. Do you ever feel that there'll be a day where these two can coexist in in a major positive way?
Yeah, I see it happening now. See, even though there's a lot of greed in this world, when you look at two industries that's multi-billion-dollar industries, when you put them together, it just make bigger billions. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people, like even on the hip hop side, Russell Simmons in Template Gaming, a WGN rap star, he sees the potential on how games reach people and the addiction of games, like how people really love it and spend a lot of time on it. And then there's a lot of people in gaming that's making music that's like, I knew NWA, I grew up on that, but they make games. So they always been trying to find a way to bring it together. One of the reasons why my name is Hip Hop Gamer is for that same exact reason. Because there's a shift I feel going on in the industry where everybody now is like, they want a piece of this and they want a piece of that. So how do you make it link? And that's why you see someone like an Eminem do the Call of Duty soundtrack. You see what I'm saying? Like they understand the power and money talks. So you put so we put all that together. I think, now 2014 and beyond, I think you're really gonna see like on the radio. Like I think you're gonna start hearing those type of things on the radio. I think you're gonna start seeing it more visual. You know what I'm saying? I think you'll see a PS Vita next to a Beats Trade headset. Like, soon I see that them both coexisting just like that. So I really believe in it and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Nice. Yeah, I can agree with you. I can see that. Now let's talk about the beginnings of hip hop and video games. You talked about the money and money talks and how people saw it as a cash cow. In the 80s, there were a bunch of movies that focused around hip hop culture, that Beat Street Breaking, Wild Style.
Beat Street Breaking.
I highly recommend anybody who hasn't seen it, go check out Wild Style and things like that, and Beat Street Breaking. So when those things began to gain some popularity, video game companies decided we're going to try to cash in. So they worked on this game here. You see these top-notch graphics. This is
To be fair though, that doesn't look that much worse than the movie Breaking looks.
Wow.
Not too soon?
I get the shots fired.
No, but I mean you can see what he's doing there. He's popping. I can make it out. So this is a game called Breakdance for Commodore 64 by Epix.
Classic.
I feel like if I were designing a game that was to focus on bodies breakdancing, I would make the bodies take up a larger portion of the screen.
It's all about the buildings.
Yeah. They were most of the way through developing that game about washing the windows downtown.
Oh,
They just kind of threw in these dudes at the last minute. Breaking is big this year.
So I had to fast forward a whole lot to find the first time that I felt hip hop and video games came together in a positive light, and it was one of my favorite games, and it was a game called Parappa the Rapper. I love Parappa, especially since it brought the MC to the forefront. A lot of times it was like, oh, let's just play some funky beats and have some gangsters on it.
Real lyrics.
But yeah, the lyrics, left a little bit to be desired. But the music was cute. It was a fun copy of blues games. Timing was really tough on it. I had a hard time with it. But yeah, it was one of my favorites because it introduced the MC, as I said, timing-based lyrics, blah, blah, blah. Where you come from. We talking about those lyrics. Bars, hashtag, bars. Where you come from? Now, I want to talk about this thing here, nerdcore hip hop, and this gentleman on the screen. I hear you know a thing or two about nerdcore hip hop. So I'd like for you to explain to the people what is nerdcore, what is your relation to the word nerdcore, if any,
I put that phrase together for a song of the same title in the year 2000, which is now so long ago.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is. That's like is that a generation? How much is years? How many years in a
That's
generation?
one decade.
We get it. The generations is what, 7 years now?
The kids grow up so fast these days.
But, you know.
There's babies having babies.
17, I don't know.
Anyway, a lifetime ago. And now there's all these like talented folks making music, and they choose to call themselves nerdcore hip hop. And so it has gone from a thing I made up to point out that I'm a terrible person who should feel shame, into this thing people use to band together and avoid shame entirely, and I think that's great. The original idea is like you could kind of hide behind your computer and your internet connection and create music and present it to people without having to be cool enough to actually stand on a stage and demand their attention and insist that you were cool, which was something throughout hip-hop's history that was sort of mandatory. Like you had to present as well as create.
Right.
And I was like, oh well, I could do one of those two things. The first version of my website, the picture gallery was all pictures of famous rappers with their faces blurred out. Like a picture of Biggie, which is just like the little, registration dots covering. It looked very obvious who he was if you had ever heard of rap music before. And it's like, here's MC FrontaLot in a pensive moment between stakes. It's like, and the next one's Eminem, and the one after that's like Vanilla Ice. They all just have their faces blurred out. But people still thought that was, I don't know, people had a lot of trouble parsing my website. but that was nerdcore, I thought. Like, my website was, I had a website instead of a career. But then just sort of magically, or not magically, I guess, but through normal, non-supernatural means, a following amassed, and then I had to start having press photos like this thing. Boy, that's fancy looking, isn't it? Controlling the weather without even looking at it.
Great.
Okay, so needless to say, you probably had no idea that nerdcore was even a thing that was still talked about 14 years later.
I did not think any of it would be anything other than my little funny name for my hobby, but then it turned into my career, and now it's lots of people's careers, and in a sense a whole movement of kids who identify with that and want to contribute to it as a body of music, and that makes me extra super double happy.
Nice.
Nice.
Alright, so I found this cool picture. I thought this applied to our subject matter. But who doesn't like cute cats, right? But I want to go on and talk to Hip Hop Gamer about a little bit about what you do and how you do it. There is a lot of information here. I'm going to read this, and then you can feel free to go into from your own words. Gerard Hip Hop Gamer Williams is a video game journalist and hip hop artist. His passion and love of games inspired Hip Hop Gamer to create his flagship web show, the Hip Hop Gamer Show, where he merges the worlds of hip hop and gaming in cutting-edge interviews and reviews.
Yo, real talk, I'm telling y'all right now, like I said before, my grandma's is my champion. You know what I'm saying? She passed away in 2010. So I used to make videos, like I was watching G4, right? And there was like a Game of the Year episode, Adam Sessler and some other people, Kevin Pereira, they had the Game of the Year. I don't know what the game was, but they had a whole bunch of they had a long discussion about a lot of stuff. And I'm sitting at home, I'm like, yo, this is some bullshit. Fuck out of here. Like, what are you talking about, man? So I just said, thank God YouTube, thank God all these opportunities for somebody to have a voice. So I started speaking more from a gaming specific perspective, because there's a lot of advertisers, out here. I know a lot of y'all know the Jeff Gerstmann situation where he got fired for telling the truth. You see what I'm saying, at GameSpot. So I was like, I ain't gonna go work for a company, I'm gonna build my own. Anybody firing me, I'm controlling shit. So that's like what my goal was. It's a certain demeanor. So when I started talking about games, everybody was like, oh, okay, this is cool, but they take it serious because where I come from in comparison to game journalism and the way I talk, they were like, wow, this guy got broken English, he shouldn't be here, this is journalism, this and that, blah, blah. So a lot of times people define you as things, and then I have to redefine them for something that I want, and then let people follow that, because it's more rebellious nature before the right attitude and the right positive message for everyone, because we all human, we all love stuff, bottom line. So when I brought hip hop and gaming together, it seemed like gaming didn't accept hip hop, and it seemed like hip hop didn't accept gaming. So I was like, this is some bullshit, because if you go to a Microsoft event like Gears of War, you know, that's gaming, but they'll have Big Sean perform. So it's like, we're only good to perform, but we can't be a part of the culture. Fuck out of here, I didn't like that. See my language, but I'm passionate about this, y'all. So when I go to game, when I go to hip hop and stuff, they don't even want to rock with gaming, because they feel like, oh, I'm too cool for that. I ain't rock with that nerd stuff. Right. Then you home up there like, get over here, just playing in 2K all day. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you ain't in the streets hustling that hard if you playing 2K all day. The game was the number one. The game rapper was the number one. I mean, 2K played at one point. Yeah. So I started to just look at it for what it was, and I love what this is. So in this picture right here, you see me on High 97. Now, I'm a gaming personality, you know, on High 97. High 97 is the biggest, that's the home of hip hop and R&B. If you know Biggie, you know Pac, you know Eminem, you know Pun, you know all these people, they was born on High 97. That's where they got played first at, like that, in a big way. That's their breaking. And now gaming is there, you see what I'm saying, because of a dream that I had. And now it's going into either, you know, deeper spaces, because now I just did a little partnership, you know, like I can't talk about everything like detail, but let's just say Shade 45, Vlad TV, This Is 50, like, you know, all these areas that don't cover games will now do it because of a dream that I had, and now a dream that we all can share and benefit from.
For the record, those are like the majority of the biggest outlets. So, you know, with breaking barriers, I feel like this stuff, and again, I just go back to it being so young, and that the potential is just limitless, because a lot of these barriers are being broken down. Yeah. So I definitely thank you for that. And that was a big reason why I wanted you to be a part of this panel, because I feel like your perspective is so unique, and you're literally out there, you know, in the front lines breaking down barriers.
And we gotta do a song together, man.
And we gotta do something.
Word up. Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, he got bars for grip. You know what I'm saying? I'm rocking my dude right here.
I'm alright. But I wanted to talk about, I guess your, various challenges in doing what you do. You are probably considered a pretty controversial figure in the scene. So
yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Do you feel like controversy, can propel your brand, or can hold it back, or both? Like how are you able to spin those and work through the controversies that just tend to come up?
Well, in terms of controversy, I embrace it all the time. See, the thing is, I give you an example. One thing I learned about journalism is, like, I give you an example. Shout out to my boy Greg Miller. You know what I'm saying? That's my dude over IGN. But you know, I be like battling with him too, like, because that's how you learn when you debate. Because you never know what another person's perspective is. Even if you don't agree, you can still learn. So there was this game, I think Mafia 2, and he said something about like the lip syncing was off or some other shit. And I was like, dude, I played this game more than you. Ain't nothing wrong with that lip syncing. Stop lying. So I challenged him, and he was down for the challenge. And I was like, yo, I love this. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't down for the challenge. And I was like, IG must have said, look, you know, my game was coming up. He's doing some things. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be associated too much, you know, with that and stuff. And I'm like, I go against corporate big time, because they don't understand the love, man. You know what I'm saying? And when you got a heart, it's a different type of feeling. Like, honestly, everybody that's in here right now, they're here not just because they want to get information and learn things, but it's a certain feeling of empowerment that make you feel like you can do anything in this world. And you got a lot of people that make you feel like you can't. And that's the mentality that we see a lot nowadays, and I think it's wrong. So the reason why I'm very controversial, because I like to, that's why I created this joint called Shots Fired, because it's a balance to the bullshit that we all experience, and it's not fair, and I don't like that shit. So that's why I attack it, and I attack it with intelligence. I attack it with facts and good debatable arguments, so we can learn from one another and build a bond that can be strong and a chain that can be strong. Another thing is, thank you, I appreciate that. And also, shots fired, you know that. And obviously, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? So I'm black. So like, obviously, I'm black. So it's like I dealt with a lot lot of racism. I still deal with a lot of racial shit now. And you know how you got like a lot of certain people that be like, oh, I didn't name names and shit. No, I name names. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? This dude called me out. So like in terms of like racial stuff and everything, like I give you an example. I'm a partner. I'm a partner with PlayStation Home. On PS3, and I made content for them and everything like that. And it was all up. I've gone to every Sony event and everything like that. Like, this is what we do. You see me holding up the damn belt, you know what I'm saying, at E3 last year when they announced the price point and the fact that they wasn't going to do the DRM. And Microsoft was doing it. Like, it was crazy. Everybody knows who I am. So, all this stuff is happening, right? So now, PlayStation 4 is about to launch. I go to the event, and I didn't get an invite, so I'm thinking, I didn't get an invite and actually create content for y'all. I never did anything wrong. What's going on? So then this lady named Jennifer Clark, she's a part of the PR on Sony, and she runs all of that. Everybody knows me. I know all these people at Sony. So then she was like, she's not gonna let me in. I'm like, what you mean you're not gonna let me in? What I do? Like, so I said, if you don't want me here, just tell me why. What's going on? So then Jennifer Clark sends an email saying this is specifically for international media and stuff like that. I'm like, oh really? It's specifically for international media. So one of my best friends, Black Bible, Game for the Nation, he's there. I'm seeing all these other people. These dudes are international. They don't even know another motherfucking language. You trying to tell me international? Get them out of here. So that's just a real life story about things that I've dealt with. And even in that situation, I love them, God bless them, and it's just another barrier for me to break down. So I want to take the hits so y'all can be able to walk the doors a bit easier. Because I'm not selfish with gaming or this business. I look at it like Martin Luther King do, you know what I'm saying? I take the hits for everybody so we all can live, and we all can eat, and we all can make it and make money and have fun with it. So there we go.
Nice. This is they're also no stranger to controversy, rap beefs. Another, no, I'm just joking. But hip hop game is something about corporate and you know that never-ending battle with corporations. Have you experienced anything in your in your years as as the godfather of nerdcore where you've had any type of brushing?
Well, I'm white, so everyone just gives me everything, and I'm allowed it. It's true. Doorman just points me right on in there. Is this for international?
It's probably everybody there. Like, hey,
No.
But
wait, what was the question?
Corporate brushings or attempts. Do you feel like nerdcore is at the point, or even close to that area, where corporations will begin to see a bit of dollar signs or even anything like that, novel or marketable about it to the point where they'll attempt to infiltrate, or has it even
the video game corporations have seen the value in what we do somewhat, especially with you, because Capcom came and made friends with you, and Xbox brought you around to rap for their Halo launch and stuff like that. They don't do that with me as much because of my hairline, I think. They don't want more of that 40-year-old guy with the tiny tuft in the front, encouraging the kids to play Titanfall.
I wouldn't mention Titanfall. It's not as good as they said.
I can't even begin to get into the console wars here. I think I lost a few friends and fans when I bought an Xbox One. So
I encourage everybody to do everything, but
dude, I got like cursed out. I was like, hey guys, I'm playing my Xbox One. They're like, man, I thought you were a real gamer. You suck. You suck. I'll never listen to you again. I was like, whoa.
Your choice of expensive leisure time activities and mine are slightly different.
So there's politics, religion, and game console. You never want to discuss if you want to keep your friendship.
Keep that off the tree.
So what game console you got? Like,
I went to console free play the other night,
yeah.
and I tried to play a game that I
Are they just too difficult? Too many?
They had Rise, the stabbing game. I wanted to try it. I'd never played one of the new consoles yet, and I took it over there and tried to put it in the thing, and it's like, F you, there's no internet. The other one put it in there, he's like, I have a little bit of internet, but you will have to download 5 gigabytes before you can press the button that makes it go.
Wow.
There's only like a half hour left, and it was doing about 1% every 15 minutes. And I was like, man. I failed. I tried to play one of these fancy new boxes, and I failed to play a video game. And do you know how that made me feel?
I'm terrible.
Not like a capable person. I used to be good. It's like sometimes I'm good at video games, but I thought I was at least good at playing a video, like being able to play a video game. The very base level of gaming skill.
Yeah, now you gotta account for that time. You buy a new game, you're like, all right, I'm gonna pop this game in, I'm gonna go make my dinner while the 5 gig update starts. That's my life anyway. At least who has an Xbox on. I'm not making it sound too good. But anyway, moving on. We're gonna go through a short timeline of hip-hop and gaming meetings and have you guys alternate on some comments on each one. We can go with a thumbs up or thumbs down. In 2000, Activision partnered with the Wu-Tang Clan for a game called Wu-Tang Shopping Style. Did you play this game?
Let me tell you something. I was like, real talk, when I was a kid, I'm broke, dog. I didn't have no money, like, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to play everything I could. I went to friends' houses. I did everything I could to play games, so that's it.
Wu-Tang Shopping Style was a fun game. I like the fact that if you put the game into a CD player, it had bonus Wu-Tang songs. Yeah. And it was a really violent game. I remember the game was Thrill Kill that had got canceled. It was a really violent game. Yeah. So they slapped some Wu-Tang faces on it and made a bunch of money. Activision knows a thing or two about making a bunch of money. So did you play Wu-Tang Shopping Style, Frank?
What was it for?
PlayStation 1?
No, I didn't have one.
You didn't have PlayStation 1? What? Final Fantasy 7?
Final Fantasy 7 is still one of the best RPGs ever made. Like, hands down.
I was a Commodore 64 gamer, and then I was a PC gamer. I never had a console until I got a used PlayStation 2 so I could play San Andreas.
Oh, we're nice. I respect that.
All right, EA releases Def Jam Vendetta for console starting in 2007.
You already know, son. You already know, son.
This game was amazing, man. I loved it. It was
You did? Oh, yeah.
It was based off of like the best wrestling game engine ever, the HQ engine that they used for WCW.
All your favorite rappers beating each other.
So yeah, you had your favorite rappers power driving each other. It was great. I remember reading an interview with I always say this with Redman, and he was saying that he wanted his special move to be called 100 Bitches. And they were like, well, what would it be? And he was like, no, I would just like knock you down in the ring, and then 100 bitches would come and stop. And he's like, but they couldn't handle it. The game, like, the game would break. That's my favorite Def Jam story. But it was a fun game. They made a bunch of Def Jams. They made
It was Fight for New York.
Fight for New York.
And then when they came out with Icon, it was about another Def Jam game after that.
MC FrontaLot appears at the first Penny Arcade Expo in 2004, and everyone since. That's a lot of Penny Arcade Expos.
That's 16 or so.
It's 1 million almost.
Yeah, that's like almost 1 million.
10 years in.
Amazing, and I think that's another huge step for hip hop and gaming. We can rest assured that there will be some hip hop at every PAX, which is awesome.
Definitely.
Capcom grants an exclusive licensing agreement to some guy in 2007. Some guy was me. I made an album called Mega Ran, and it was sampling the Mega Man soundtrack. I was very afraid of getting Capcom's attention. I did not want to do that, but in the hip hop way of doing things, you just do it, and then you can apologize later. steal your stuff.
Just to piggyback on what you're saying, like my man Jack Diller, who's my new co-host on the Hip Hop Gaming Show, he's a G-Unit comedian, but one of his slogans is, we don't ask for permission, we ask for forgiveness. So just do that shit.
Yeah, you gotta, see, that's the hip hop way. You know, we sample, we do things, and then we're like, oh, sorry, my bad. But
My bad.
So yeah, that's my bad. So, absolutely. So Capcom emailed me. This is in the MySpace days, which many of you probably have no idea about.
Oh, God.
But they messaged me on MySpace. Big old Capcom. I was like, oh boy. And they're like, hey guy, the subject was about your Mega Man project. And I was like, oh shit. So they're like, hey, we heard this Mega Man project you did. And I'm like, you did? Oh man. And they skip a bunch of lines. I think they were just trying to do it for dramatic effect. So afterwards, after like 7 line skips, it's like, we love it, smiley face. And I was like, oh cool. And they're like, don't worry, this isn't a cease and desist. I was like, oh. So I have to thank a guy who's no longer with Capcom, he's Seth Killian, who's going on to do a lot. Seth saved my life. And I mean that literally because they could have sued the pants off me and you would never hear me. But he was cool enough and forward-thinking enough to, as leader of Capcom Unity, to shine a light on what he considered fan art. And so they invited me out to Comic-Con. We had a lot of great talks, and since then I've been officially licensed by Capcom, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
Timbaland jacks a beat from Finnish chiptune musician Johnny Suni for a Nelly Furtado hit. I don't know if you guys heard this story, but this is a pretty great story.
Chiptunes people were mad about this.
Oh, they still are. This is part of the reason why, and I'm like one of the sole representatives of like the hip hop and chiptune thing, or chip hop as they call it.
Chip hop?
Yeah. I'll explain that. Chip hop, like when you rap using, beats that are like chiptune, 8-bit sounding.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do a lot of that. So I play chiptune festivals, and they have a no love for rap, and it's usually because of Timbaland. Because when they asked him about it, he was like, it was some game, whatever. And they're like, but you stole this. He's like, it was some stupid game. So like his response was like, this isn't important enough for you to care about. What's important is I made a hit, and it's not even tired of it, so shake your butt. So, but they did not. Who's clapping for that? Stealing! See, I just talked about stealing. This is the teacher in me.
What did happen with that?
So I think they settled out of court. He probably gave him, more money than they've ever seen. I don't know if anyone's here representing or a chip musician in any way, but I hang around a lot of them, and they don't seem to want anyone to find their music. I think it's this elusiveness in the scene. It's like if you're in the know, you'll find out, and they're not about, being stars or celebrities, but they're making some of the most creative and impressive technical music. And you're gonna see more and more chiptune in popular music come in. It's happening already. So they settled out of court, people hate Timbaland, and that's kind of the end of that story. 50 Cent. 50. That's my kid. It's a video game called Bulletproof in 2005, and a 2009 sequel, I think it was called like Blood and Sand. I played that first game. I liked it a lot. It was like, I think it had like a Max Payne kind of thing going on it. Yeah, it was, I think it had Bullet Time or something in it. Yeah. Who would
Real gamer news.
DJKillzown Jones, better remember the name. DJKillzown Jones, better remember the name.